Hello folks, and a warm welcome back to my channel, and welcome to Beachy Head on the South Downs Way. I've come here today for some brunch to test out this new stove that I've got, which is the OEX Hero Stove. And I've picked this location because I knew it would be windy, so it would be quite a difficult test for the stove. So yeah, I hope you join me on this beautiful day, and we're going to have a little bit of lunch. My name's John and I make videos on camping, walking and astronomy. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as you may find others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with this video. The drive down here was absolutely fabulous. Once you left the main, I think it's the A27 road to Eastbourne, you end up on little single lane roads going through very small villages, chock-a-block full of flint cottages, which are typical of the Sussex Downs, nice little pubs and old Saxon churches. It was absolutely fabulous on a day like today. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself on the drive here. There's a poignant memorial here to the Royal Air Force Bomber Command in the Second World War. Down there is Eastbourne with its pier, basking in the spring sunshine. So OEX is the house brand, or one of the house brands of the JD Outdoors group, which comprises typically of Go Outdoors, Blacks, Millets and Ultimate Outdoors. And OEX kind of is typically mid-range, good value product. And they've brought out new this year this OEX Hero Stove, which is a heat exchanger type stove similar to the JetBoils. This is a small compact one. The nearest JetBoil equivalent would be the JetBoil Zip. And the main thing with this stove is it's I think £45 at Go Outdoors, but you have to have one of their loyalty cards for that, which costs a fiver, so 50 quid if you haven't got one. And I know Blacks and Millets are selling it for £50. Mine came from Blacks and I paid £50 for it. Comes in this drawstring bag, so let's open it up and have a little look. So the bag's quite large. You could get extra stuff in here. And this is the size of the package. It's got a lid on it and a central pot which has got enough space to hold a gas canister. This is the actual stove itself. The pot has a 0.6 litre capacity, and this bit down here, this is the heat exchanger section. The pot's covered with a kind of neoprene type insulation, and it's got some handles here. Like I alluded to earlier, the main competitor for this is probably the JetBoil Zip, and the differences between this and the JetBoil Zip, which is a lot more expensive incidentally, that's between £80 and £100 depending on where you look. So the JetBoil Zip has a slightly larger pot. I think it might be 0.7 litres instead of 0.6. With the JetBoil you get this canister support included, which doesn't come with the OEX one. This is a Vango one. I think OEX do one. They're usually £6 or £7, so they're not a lot of money. The JetBoil I think comes with a little cup, which you don't get with the OEX. It's a little thin plasticky thing, but I just use this for about a fiver. So yeah, you get a little bit more with the JetBoil, but whether you get sort of £40 worth more is a different matter. The things that the OEX comes out better on is it's got a piezoelectric lighter here, which you don't get with the Zip. The boil time on this stove is actually faster for 500 millilitres than it is for the Zip. It's not by a lot, but nonetheless it is faster. This has got slightly better wind protection than you get on the Zip as well, which is probably where maybe the better boil time comes from. And the Zip is probably slightly more fuel efficient, uses a little bit less gas per, say, 100 millilitres boil, but fundamentally the technical differences between the two are not that great. The Zip's slightly more fuel efficient, but slightly slower at boiling, but not much either way. The main thing I would say is the lack of the piezoelectric starter. I think the gas regulator on this is actually a little bit better than it is on the Zip. And the other thing, I think, with an advantage for the Zip is you can buy with the Zip a little support that goes in here that enables you to put a pan on top of the stove. OEX, as far as I can see, I've scoured the website, hasn't got that yet. So if you wanted to put a frying pan on, then you'd struggle a bit with this. Having said that, I gather that the one that fits the Zip actually will fit inside here. It's a little bit loose, but it does fit. But you have to modify it slightly because this piezoelectric thing here kind of gets in the way. So that's one thing, you know, I'm hoping that OEX will come up with, because although I don't do it very often, it's nice to fry up bacon and stuff like that. So we'll get started in a sec. I'm quite excited to try this out. Generally I've steered clear of this kind of design, even though I've heard people who've used them said once you do you'll never go back, mostly because of the cost. So this being £50 has altered that somewhat, so I'm quite excited to give it a go. Up to now I've used two typical types of stove. One, if I can cook outside my tent, I've used the MSR Pocket Rocket. The drawback for me of that kind of design is that by the time you've got a pan on the top, it becomes a little bit unstable and is prone to being kicked over, and that's the reason I don't tend to use that design when I'm inside my tent. When I'm forced to cook kind of in the porch area of the tent because the weather's bad, I use a stove that sits onto the ground with a separate gas canister, which is hugely more stable and in my eyes much safer if you have to cook inside a tent. The jury'd be out on this one. I'd have to have a little go on it, see how it works cooking inside the tent. But yeah, anyway, let's put it together and start off with some lunch, because I'm getting a bit hungry. So the gas canister simply screws on the underside of the stove. You just flick out the regulator and make sure it's closed as well. Then you screw the canister on. You don't have to screw it on too tightly. And then the main pot itself basically has got a couple of slots in it, and the stove has a couple of dimples, and if you line these up and simply twist slightly, you don't have to twist it much, you just twist it slightly, that's it, done. Then you'd put the whole thing on one of these stands, just to give you a bit of stability. So that will be that. So let's fill it up with water and give it a fire up. Now what they reckon with this type of stove is that to fire it up, you're better off actually taking the pan bit and heat exchanger bit off, because if you fire it up with it all enclosed, you can get a bit of blowback, I presume because the gas will build up inside here and flare out. So let's try that first. It's a very windy day today, or it's windy here anyway, so I'll be interested to see if this will light whilst being not protected from the wind. And there it goes, first time. So now we just can put this on, line it up and just twist it to lock. I'm going to put 500ml in here and just see how long it takes to boil up. Pop the lid on, turn the gas up. Okay, so that took 2 minutes 20 seconds basically to start boiling. The box says it will do it in 2 minutes, but the reality is that's in ideal conditions, sort of 20 degrees and no wind and that kind of thing. So for this to do this in 2.5 minutes on a very windy day, and it's about 14-15 degrees at the moment, I'm quite pleased with that. So the next test really is to see if I can get one of my meals inside the pot, because the pot is a little bit small, so we'll have a look at that next. So my dinner today is one of these Wayfarer dinners. It's not dehydrated, it's real food in here. Beans and sausages today, so it's brunch really. What I need to do now is see if I can screw it up sufficiently to ram it inside this this pot here. I think that'll do. I've had to pour a bit of water out, but let's get it boiling again. I'm not going to jam the lid on here incidentally, but the lid's got a couple of little vents and things in it. This is a spout to release steam, I think. I reckon that allows you to drain water out of the pot when you've finished with it, and I suspect this looks like you can use that to drink straight out the pot if you like. It's quite a rigid plastic lid. I'm quite impressed with that. Right, that's boiling again now, so I'm going to drop it back to simmer it. And I think you have to simmer these things for about 8 minutes or 6 minutes or something, so we'll just let that bubble away. Right, that's almost done now, so let's get some coffee ready. I'm going to use the water that I've boiled there to make some coffee. That's the advantage of this type of real food. You just use your water for your coffee, so you don't have to then boil more. But it seems to have heated this up quite evenly, which is good. Looks like mush, but it tastes very nice. Well, that was very nice, I must say. I really enjoyed that lunch and did really well, because about 200 metres behind me is quite a well-known pub that serves really nice food. So yeah, my thoughts on the stove then is I think it did a grand job. It's, I reckon, way more efficient than the other stoves that I use. Compared to the JetBoil Zip, it's got a few advantages and a few disadvantages. I think for half the price, more or less, though, the OEX Hero is an amazing value stove. I reckon if you thought you were going to be doing lots of cooking steak and frying up bacon and stuff like that, then probably the JetBoil stove's a better bet for you. But for me, I mostly use boiling the bag type meals or dehydrated meals. So there, the OEX stove I think comes up trumps, as I struggle to justify £100 odd on a stove. But yeah, obviously durability is something that remains to be seen. Sometimes you pay more money to get a more durable product, but like I say, I'll find out over the next year or so. If any of you have got this stove or the Zip, then let me know what you think about your stove in the comments. But for now, at the South Downs, just by Beachy Head, on this glorious spring day, I'll say cheerio, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.